Good evening. Welcome back to Volume 3 of Easy 8's Online Painter Club. My name's Danny, says it right down there at the bottom of the screen. It has been a really long time since I have been on, or at least it feels like a really long time. There are a few changes, a few things that have happened, a few bad things that have happened. I say bad things, kind of slightly negative things that have happened. One of the things that you'll probably be quite aware of right now is that there's no music right now. That is because I've just realised that about 20 minutes before the show going live, my computer had corrupted a whole load of files. I don't entirely know what's gone on, but it's taken me a very long time just to make sure that that you can see me, that I'm here, that the program had to be reinstalled. Unfortunately, my PC was gutsy enough to have saved all of the sort of the program files, etc., which is a bit of a poor, dodgy start just to kind of get started back into a new season of Easy 8. So it's going to be a quiet show because there's no music. I couldn't recover the music to put in the background. So what you're going to have to do is just play your own music in the background because I can't provide that for you right now, which is a real shame. Anyway, what is Easy 8 all about? If you're new here, it's just a painting club. It's just an online place where you can come, spend some time with me. The guys over there in the live chat that are already there, I can see Kez and Jev already. Just come on over and get some of your miniatures painted, knowing that someone is out there struggling to get things done. My little sign in the background is flashing, flickering its lights. It's never worked really well, that has it? Bless it, struggling away over there. Yeah, so make sure that you go grab yourself a cup of tea, get all your miniatures, or everything that you need to get painted, and put some music on because it's going to be a real quiet show like this. Bit boring, isn't it, really? So at least I'll be bored and you can put on what you want to hear. I can see that Jeff's there saying oi oi and Kez saying hi, or I be painting mechs. Brilliant, mechs, because we're actually going to be playing some Alpha Strike Mech Warrior tomorrow, I believe, or Battletech is the actual term for it. Yeah. So what has been happening in the last few weeks since Easy 8 hasn't been online? Well, the first things first, I got a year older. I am now the grand age of 41. So I kind of feel like there should be some sort of Warhammer 40k reference here, being the 41st millennium, my 41st birthday. I'm not 41,000 years old, but yeah, I feel like it some days. But I feel like this maybe should be the year that I pull my finger out and get a lot of my Warhammer miniatures painted. Which is what this show is all about. It's just kind of getting through that big plastic hoard of just unpainted stuff that I need to just kind of do. Got a really squeaky chair today. Everything's a little bit raw, rough and ready, like the original days of Easy 8. My brightness levels keep going up and down as well. Maybe it's something to do with that light. Don't really know what's going on this evening. Also, it's a Tuesday, right? Why is it a Tuesday? Well, I had a week off because I was really poorly. I had a chest infection, and if I get like a chest infection, most of the people that know me, it takes me down for days, if not weeks. I was really poorly some years ago, and ever since then, it's just really affected me. And there was just no way that I could have run that show. And then the following week, I was still really poorly. And then I was actually, when I recovered, I went back to work and I was shipped off for a last minute training thing. So yeah, I just thought that, you know what, these last 2 weeks, it's just not going to be a thing. Take time just to recover. I've done no painting whatsoever. I sat down in front of the TV, feeling pretty useless, to be honest. And actually, over the last few days, it's only now that I've really started feeling better. The last thing I want to be doing is doing some painting and then coughing and then just kind of ruining everything. You know how it is. You just don't want to kind of do stuff, right? So yeah, I just thought I'd take some time to recover. So my apologies that I've been away. I was really looking forward to doing a show over sort of my birthday area, bringing in a new era of Easy 8 because it's the third year of live streaming. I can't believe that we've been going on this long. It's really important to me. It's really valuable that you guys are here. And the reason I'm doing it on a Tuesday is because actually on this weekend I'm going away for the weekend with some friends and family to York for a Christmas fair, for a Christmas market. And it suddenly occurred to me just the other week when I was kind of getting better, I'm not going to be here on this Friday either. And it was the only day that I could have a presence online this week with you guys. So I thought that I would do one apparently now rough and ready, kind of scruffy around the edges sort of show, just to kind of get a presence back up and say, hey, I'm here. I don't want to have a third week out. So yes, I just thought that I would come online. If there's not going to be very many of you out there online, then maybe we'll just do a shorter one, especially if everything's not going to be working very well. But I've got a load of stuff that I want to kind of crack on with. I want to get back on with the show, pick it back up again, and have a strong, if not a bit of a rocky start to season 3, or I call it volume 3. So if you are new here, thanks very much for coming along. Do please consider following us on all of the platforms. We're here on YouTube, obviously we're on Facebook and Instagram as well, and you can also join me after every show for at least a little while on Discord, and there are links to all of those platforms down there in the description to this video, so head on over there, have a look. But please don't forget to like, follow, share and subscribe our name, because everything that you do, just the little things, makes a really big difference at this end. We're starting to get really quite noticed. We're at the 64 subscribers, and I've noticed actually a lot of the interactions on Facebook starting to get known by quite a few more people, a lot more private companies out there. One that I just recently flagged up on Facebook is Debris of War. So Debris of War, I know who you are because I see you around. I see you online. I go to the conventions, the war games, shows, etc., and I see you around. So thanks very much for kind of following us on this journey, and I hope that we can, kind of mention your name a bit more and say hi and do things for you. That would be really cool. And to anybody else out there who's got anything else going on, Easy 8 is all about that, sharing some stuff, kind of getting your name mentioned out to the community, because I have that capacity to do so. What am I doing today? I am just going to be painting some of my Tyranids. If you remember last week, I was painting these little fellas. I had this little clamp so I could hold them a bit easier. I did a lot of dry brushing on them. I decided after that last show where I was dry brushing them that what I was trying to do wasn't good enough to kind of get the effect that I was looking for. So I decided to take the plunge, go in for the long haul, and actually start detail painting those lines in, trying to find a fine balance on what is a detail line. Do I take forever and ever doing it, or do I not detail lines, but kind of like adding in highlights, if you like, rather than just dry brushing them. I wanted to make sure that I was doing it fast enough that I could get through my large army list thing together, and without actually kind of like taking forever and ever to do it, without actually kind of compromising on the quality of it. And the dry brush was too fast. I was getting through them really, really quickly, not fast enough for what I was achieving, and the quality wasn't great. So I've decided to up that quality a little bit. I would love to know what it is that you are doing today. So if you are working on something this evening, do let me know. If you're watching today on the live chat, drop it in over there on the in the live chat with these guys, or just put it down there in the comment section. It's good to be back online, even if it's a little rough and ready around the edges. It feels really, really weird doing it without music. Like, I'm sat in a house by myself. I'm not. My partner and my cats are just outside, and I tried to recover all the music, but even then my laptop started shutting down, saying like, "Oh, we haven't done an update properly." It's like, I just can't do this, and I didn't want to quit on the show because it's been such a long time. So anyway, I'm going to take you over to the workbench now, and hopefully everything's all working fine, because I haven't checked yet. I haven't had a chance to do any of these technical checks. So cross your fingers. Here we go. On the workbench. Now, I did realise that when I was doing everything earlier on, I'd knocked my camera really badly out of line. So maybe just today, we'll just take the opportunity for you guys, if you say that it's out of focus, it's too far away, let me know, because today I can, won't feel so bad that everything's not working so well. Yeah, so here's my little Tyranid, my little Termagant. They're not the best models in the world. Like, if you remember the last time when I was talking about these guys, when I had painted these, when I got hold of them, they were given to me out of a bag bought from a charity shop. I think it was actually my dad, Jeff, who bought these for me, and they were in various states of completion and readiness and preparation. So they've still got bits of sprue mark on them, still got mold lines, etc. None of which I'm actually all that happy about, and I wish that when I'd started them, that I'd been through them to, kind of correct a lot of those mistakes. But they've been in a state of unfinishedness for many, many years. And actually right now, what I want to do is just kind of finish off what I've got, so then I can move on to other projects and then maybe later come back to them. They are a horde unit, along with a couple of other units that I got that are in a similar condition. So you don't actually take an awful lot of notice about those little details that I'm talking about. So I'm not all that fussed about it. Here is my Termagant with his grey carapace, and I've been working on a whole bunch of them over here. So what I've been doing is kind of bringing in the lighter layers of grey from the backs of these carapace plates, and just kind of because they were all really quite dark. If I bring in one of these guys over here that have not been painted yet, you can see the difference. Hopefully you can see the difference on the camera. This one over here is dark, very dark, and it's all very patchy, not done very well. What I'm trying to do is highlight the back edges of these plates with one of my mid-tone greys, ready for the highlights, which I'll have like a lot more streaky lines on them to kind of simulate the sort of splits in that sort of direction that the chitin, I think chitin is the correct word for their armor. So yes, this one here has a little bit of damage on his tail because my cats broke into the studio the other day, and one of them likes to bite things, pick them up, and carry them away. This little fella has had some tail damage there, so we'll have to sort that guy out. But we'll do that another time. Yeah, she's a real pain in the backside. Boy cat, he's absolutely brilliant. He just likes to kind of be around stuff. But she goes, oh yeah, I'll have some of that, and she's taken my Skitari ranges and stuff away so many occasions now. Right, let me see. I'm just going to make sure that I've got my my listing up for today, because I've been so panicked about trying to get everything on the show today that I haven't actually had time to go through all my technical checks today. Here we go. Lovely. Wonderful. So Jeff says, maybe you've got a poltergeist, light flicker, squeaky noises. Yeah, I've had a squeaky chair. It's not doing it now that I'm trying to do it. There it is. I've had a squeaky chair for ages and ages. If I sit forwards on the chair, it won't do it so much. And that flickery light over there's never really worked all that well. It just looks quite nice. I like to have it there. I like lights. So yeah, let me know what it is that you're working on this evening. I'd love to know what it is you're actually working on. And I'm just going to kind of crack on with all this grey here. The greys that I have been using at this stage are Dawnstone and Administratum grey. This is my mid grey. This is my highlight grey. And I do use other greys as well. I don't know where my other grey actually is. It's been a while since I've been in the studio. There it is, Eshin Grey. Eshin Grey is my darkest grey, so you can see that I work up in a gradient of colours like this, just like that. So there's no need for Eshin Grey. I've kind of done everything with that for now. And what I have been enjoying is the new Nuln oil recipe. So if I start losing the definition between the plates, I can actually drop a little drop of Nuln oil into the plates and it just kind of redefines them. The old recipe of Nuln oil didn't get on with at all. So yeah, here we go. I'm just going to give this a really good shake because I really need to kind of give them all a big old mix. I've been sat downstairs feeling so poorly for such a while. I've been thinking, oh, I really, really want to get on and get some painting done, but I've been so poorly that I've just either had not the energy to get upstairs to do it, or just the desire. And even if I was feeling right, just didn't want to mess everything up by coughing and spluttering all over the place. So I'm just giving this a bit of a shake and then a bit of a mix up on my Vortex mixer, or as I like to call it, the Easy 8's Wazomatic. For those of you that like me, like it when I say Wazomatic, Stafford is not watching today. I didn't expect very many people, if any, to be on a Tuesday today. I just kind of wanted to get on the internet, get back into the studio and have another go. There we go. It feels really weird doing it all without the music. Do make sure that you got your music on in the background, because otherwise it's just going to feel really weird for you guys as well. And no one wants that. Right, so no one wants it to feel really rubbish. And if my crowd can, if the audience can stop me from feeling weird, then all the better. Right, I'm just putting a couple of scoops of this into my palette on the side there, just so I can close that. I want it to dry in the pot, and I'm just going to put a little dollop of water in the palette as well, just to kind of make that paint nice and creamy smooth. I'm very used to using airbrush paints, and of course I'm using Citadel brush paints here, and my airbrush paints are very watery because they need to be to go through the airbrush, and it can be quite easy to forget sometimes. And if your paints aren't watered down, even if they only need just a little bit, it really makes a difference, and you'll end up not having a good time. So I'm trying to have a little look at this one here and see if I've actually done a relatively neat job on it at all, where I started, where I finished. It looks like I've done the main plates on his back here. Having a little look around, looks like I've done something on the gun. Have I done anything on the head? Yeah, it looks a little untidy. I can see that I was trying to rush it there. I haven't done anything on the legs, so that's where I'm going to start. I've got my little Raphael Kalinsky number 0, which is really good for getting a nice small fine tip to the bristles here, and I'm just going to run a little line just along the front there. There we go. And on this plate here as well. And it's just enough to kind of push the dark grey up a little bit. I want it to be dark towards the top of the plates. Now that is to kind of, I suppose, pretend there's shadow or something coming from the other, from the top plate. So when you get to the top plate, there's actually kind of no sort of objective need to have that pattern. So I've never really kind of worked that out in my head. What do I do when I get there? So I just kind of leave it like that because I think it looks kind of cool. Whatever. Jeff says, I'm just finishing up the Martello Tower, so we'll pop up and pick up the two Dad's Army guys you painted for me. We'll need them for the pics. Yes, yeah, they are right here, ready for you to collect them. In fact, I could have brought them down to you the other day. So my apologies for that. I will make sure that I have finished them because knowing me, I pick up one project and move on to another. And yes, they are all good for you. They were a bit of fun actually to paint because yeah, I've never painted that sort of. Yeah, I've never painted any kind of World War II uniforms or any uniforms really to speak historically really. So yeah, it was quite fun, and I deliberately didn't use colours like out of a pre-made box set or something like that. I just kind of made it up as I went along, trying my best to follow some reference photographs. And I don't follow reference photographs nearly as often as I should do. So that was actually quite good fun. Hopefully they're close enough for you. Just going back over the old bits there, just making sure that the colours are mixed in well. Do let me know if my camera isn't working well or if it is out of focus or something, because it is in autofocus, which I don't normally like to do. But it means if I bring him up nice and close, you can see him quite clearly. Is he going to come in? There he is. Any second now. It's fighting me. Well, yeah, you get the idea. You get the idea. Today's not going all that well for me, but it happens. It happens. So I don't know what happened with the computer and or the files. Kez has been, delightfully helping me by coming over and helping me set the computer up, because we obviously what we done a little while ago is we spent quite a bit of money. I spent quite a bit of money on rebuilding the computer, making sure that it had like all the cool stuff that it needed to run lots of cameras, do a really good job, have lots of different things going on at the same time, and run the show really well. And it was starting to struggle, the old one. So Kez came over and helped me kind of, choose all the new bits of kit and install them all and kind of make them work. And it was still struggling, and it was shutting down on some things. And when I was playing some video games on it with my friends, because every now and again I like to chill out with my friends from across the country. It's a good way of keeping in contact with them. And the games, even the ones that weren't demanding games, were just shutting down. And I was like, this shouldn't be happening with all this new equipment, all the new internals. It shouldn't be doing this. And Kez was getting quite cross, not with me, but just the general circumstance, maybe at me. Sorry, Kez. And we decided to pull the plug on Skynet, so to speak. So we took everything out and reinstalled everything, so just completely blank slate after having spent all that time going through it all. And yeah, we did it a second time, and it might be that somewhere in that process, maybe like music files haven't been saved to the right place, which is just not right because I've been looking through it all or whatever. But somewhere in that process, something has happened. So I was trying to recover all those files just before the show started from my laptop, and then my laptop had an update and was not being very helpful at all. So I was like, you know what? I'm just going to crack on. I think I'm done with this one. I want to just put this one away. Here you go. You can go over here. Cool. I'm going to move on to this guy over here. Here we are. Lovely. So I'm going to slot him into these little tabs here. I think, and the way that I like to hold him, I have the screw bit here sticking out, and the way that he's facing, that allows me to hold him in the right position. So I'm going to start just on this plate here. I like to start at this plate. It's nice and big, it's nice and clear and easy, and it's on this side of him, on the right hand side, so that I can just kind of highlight the center ridge. I'll get a bit more paint on the brush, like this. That's a bit better. And then I just pick out the edges, and I start off nice and gentle, and then I kind of work my way in a little bit more because I want to push the darker grey up. And then when I do the really really light grey, the highlights, I'll go just on the edges, and then I'll use that color to like pick out the edges of all the splits and things, and then make sort of like the impression of like pretend splits, just painting them in essentially. And I'm also just pushing that dark grey away from the edges as a bit of like a mid light, like a mid highlight. Does that make sense? I've never really. It looks good. I don't know if it's an actual thing. I suppose it is now because I've just said it. Pushing that color back a little bit, and now I'm going to work my way on this side. Why don't I have one of the Citadel painting grips? Because this one was bought for me as a gift years and years ago before the Citadel one came out. I do quite like the look of the Citadel one. I just didn't feel a need to go and buy a new one. This has got this thing here, does get in the way. It has like a nice big handle that it can hold, on like this if I want to, and it does the job perfectly for me. It needs a bit of water, and the paint there is being a bit thick and gloopy. If your paint is thick and gloopy, it will not transfer onto the miniature properly. And just push that color up. There we go. Now, as I'm pushing the color up, I'm not actually like just creating a straight line. I am sort of being rough a little bit because that's going to help the impression of the directional strokes later on when I come back in and use the highlight grey. And I'm going to like make sort of splits, if you like, just by using the brush like this and creating pseudo lines. Just making stuff up now. Pseudo lines. But like I was saying earlier on, I've had my birthday now. I'm 41 and I still don't have a completed army for any game really. It's sad, isn't it? So yeah, I think 41 is a good age to get some stuff done. So come and join me on that journey and get your stuff done too. That's what it's all about here. It's just finding the motivation within a group of people. And we've helped so many people as well. So many people who gave up on painting their armies and losing the passion that they once had. And I think that's really sad. I'm getting in the groove now. Here we go. Yeah, don't lose your passion for something that you enjoy just because that you've not had the time or the motivation, or maybe a group of your friends who used to play with don't play anymore, or oh, they're not doing it, but I really want to do it, and I don't see the point if no one else is going to be painting around me. Come and paint with us, man. Make the community nice and big, and we'll meet up and we'll go off and do stuff. More on that a little bit later in the show. So yeah, find some motivation, some inspiration. On the training course that I went away on the weekend, it was for fencing. I am now a qualified fencing coach. I am well within my right and ability to set up my own fencing school and train for Olympic standards, I believe. I'm not that good, but I have that qualification. So yeah, when I was off doing what we do, I was told by the coach, the coach who teaches coaches who coach coaches, that I have an inspirational energy. Ah, that's nice, isn't it? Thanks, mate. Safe to say that I was full of myself for the rest of the day. Just to prove him wrong. But inspiration, I think, is one of the greatest things. So, yeah, come along, see if you can find some. Let me know if you are inspired. Let me know if you're not inspired. Oh, do I want to know? Definitely want to know. Find the motivation to get all your stuff painted. And then bring your friends along. There we go. Starting to look good now. The dry brushing, where it's just me trying to be a cheat. And that's one of the things I don't really like dry brushing, is because I know that I rely on it too much. I try to use it as a cheating thing. So all the highlighting, yeah. I'm like, I'll just I hit it with a dry brush and I hit it in this direction, and hopefully it will do all my highlights and details and stuff that I need to do, and it never does, and it looks substandard, and I know it does, but I pretend it doesn't, and it makes me feel really bad. And I'm trying to push myself to develop and get better, and you're never going to do that if you just are lazy like me. So yes, I am trying to not be lazy anymore. And when you're being fast with dry brushing, it looks really untidy. See these little armor plates on the front of these little guns, they're called flesh borers. These guns, they're really cool. They've got just one plate on the front, and I haven't really quite worked out how to do the dark grey or black bits and how to kind of pattern it, because the pattern I have designed or developed is only really only works if there's a plate over it. I never really know what to do with the top plate, so I just kind of make it up for now until I'll probably accidentally stumble across this little thing. I'll be like, oh, all right, looks really good if I do it like this. So yeah, I don't know. We'll see what happens. Watch this space. I suppose it'll only really matter on the bigger creatures. And I think I pulled it off all right on some of my my Trigon and my Carnifex. It looks right for now. The one thing that I do want to do with all my little miniatures, my little Hormagaunts, is to go back over all their claws, because on my Carnifex and on my Trigon I've done all their claws a bone colour, but in the past all my little creatures have all had grey claws to match their carapace, but it actually looks much better if they're done in the bone colour. So you can see my Hormagaunt here, it's got grey claws. Doesn't look that great as far as I'm concerned. I thought it was what I wanted at the time. I've decided to do something different. So yeah, I will go back over them all and do that. Jeff says a lot of the guys I work for don't paint their own stuff. They buy minis already painted. Suppose that's okay if you have the money and just want to play the game. Yeah, for me, when I got into Warhammer was my gateway game. I was more really just into the miniatures and the painting of them. All my friends sort of collected and painted them, and my friend bought me, so I collected them and played with them. I was over my friend's house one day, and I must have been about 12, I think, and he was like, "Come and have a look at these models I've got," and I generally wasn't interested. And he showed me, and I remember like, "Oh, how do you remember all these different guns?" It was just a Space Marine. He painted them up as Space Wolves, and I thought it was kind of cool. And then I, went off and rode bikes and played with mud or whatever it is boys do. And yeah, as time went on, more and more friends started talking about these models, and quite a few of them were playing it. So I kind of got into it. Just started painting my own Space Marine army. And then one day, someone said, "Well, do you want to come and play a game after school?" And that was it. I was hooked, because it wasn't just Warhammer 40,000 that was being played in that room. Someone was also playing Epic, so you had all the giant titans and things, but in a small scale. And I just remember the atmosphere of, the excitement, and of course all the artwork that comes along with all the books was really, I want to say inspiring, but I wouldn't say it was inspiring. It just kind of set this, like the setting struck a chord with me. I liked it all. I liked the darkness. I liked the imagery. I was like, yeah, I'm involved now. And then I started buying miniatures, saving up my pocket money or my lunch money, whatever, and buying a land speeder that I'd never ever finished painting. just a rubbish modeler, but I just enjoyed it. I enjoyed collecting all the pieces and having them. And then, yeah, getting involved in the game. And then at some point, getting into Tyranids. Because space locusts, right? There's another one done. Brilliant. I am being quite quick and rough and ready. Like I say, I want to make sure that I'm finding that margin, fine line between speed and detail. But it's definitely better than dry brushing. I'm just going to wash my brush out because I think I need to. Yeah. What you're saying, though, about all of your customers who paint their, who don't paint their own things, is they play massive games as well. And I think a lot of them are quite wealthy, or at least fairly wealthy. They run big shows or are part of big shows with massive collections, and they get involved in these huge games. And I think that that's a little bit different than I'm going to call it politely the humble home wargamer. These guys are on a quite different level from what I've seen. Respect to them, they've worked hard, they've got their money, do as you wish. But I think that if you're working high class executive jobs, maybe you don't have the time, especially if you've got families and things like that, to have massive armies like what I've seen, like the Battle of Waterloo and things like that. You're talking hundreds, if not thousands, of models, and that might not be the only game that they play. And some people are just really into the game and having a collection, and I totally get that. For me, I like to, with 40k at the very least, for me it's about having, or being present on the table with an army that I have painted, and I feel quite invested in the success of each unit. If Mellowbrook is watching right now, he will know exactly what I'm talking about, because we've had conversations about this in the past. Stafford will know what I'm talking about when it comes to fighting with the Tau. In the tournament that we were both playing in, I had one Space Marine who was the last out of an entire squad. He was being gunned down by battle suits, and he was holding a strategic point, and the victory of the game came down to who could hold that point. Could he push me off and it would be a draw, and if I could hold it, it would be a win for me. And he kept on, Space Marines don't run away, but retreating, and then instantly rallying because Space Marines don't know fear, and then going back to hold it. And by the end of the game, I had held it against all odds, and it was one of those games that just had so much feeling to it, so much atmosphere to it. And this was my guy, and I put a little mark, like a little painted dot underneath his base to represent, so that I could remember, who he was. And then later on, after that tournament, I repainted him and made him the squad sergeant, because there was a narrative within my own little army. So for me, painting my own models, there's like an investment into the victories and their failures, and you kind of get to know who each of your models are, if you like. Not so much with Tyranids, Faceless Horde, right? But yeah, that was, Stafford. Stafford will remember that game. It was, I think he deserved that promotion. It was quite an intense day. I've had exciting conversations with Mellowbrook as well. Very similar things, where you just kind of have that one model or that one unit that just does something outstanding. And then you may be like, when you pack all your miniatures, where you keep that one guy out and put him on the shelf, and you're like, yeah, good lad, that fella. I don't know if I would have that same investment with models that I didn't paint myself. I'd certainly care for them and have pride in them. but then I don't have a completed army, and all these people do. So it tells you a lot there, doesn't it? Some of these plates, especially these little ones at the back here, they're actually quite hard to get those brush strokes that I was talking about earlier on. So I just kind of dab and try to get a similar sort of pattern out of it. This one here is quite easy to do, but this one at the back here is quite small, so I just kind of dab with the tip of the brush. just along the edge there, and it gives me a very similar sort of effect. When I come back in with the detail colours later on, I'll just pick out the edges, and that should look quite cool. Some of the models in this squad have like different heads. There's like a set of 3 or 4 heads or something, and they got like different bony carapaces on the head. So this one here's got lots of little tiny ones. Well, I say lots of little tiny ones. They have the same amount. That's one of their features. But this one here has quite wide ones. This one here has quite small ones. This one's got a horn on the front. This one doesn't. Some of them got their mouths closed. Others got mouths open. So when you come in to do them, everyone is ever so slightly different. It just means that when you're painting them, it just means it's not completely monotonous. There is something different about most of them. And that is the battle with a horde army, is the monotony. Is that the right word? Am I saying it right? Monotony. Yeah. And just taking time, I suppose. Just need to know that if I just keep on, I will get there. This one's not got so much dark bits of the grey, so I'm just keeping them nice and fast on this one. No need to go crazy with it. And onto this side here. Yeah, it's a nice colour. I like working with grey. It's a nice, easy colour. Can feel my throat getting quite tickly, so there is a danger that I could start erupting into a coughing fit at any minute. If I do, I will mute my microphone. Like I say, I am better, but I am still with the cough, I'm afraid. So, yeah, not 100%. I'd say 99. Absolutely exhausting was the chest infection. I coughed so much that I pulled all the muscles in my chest, and I couldn't control my coughing to breathe properly. So I found myself short of breath and coughing to the point where I could actually pass out or even have a seizure, which is really exciting. It's not. Fortunately, I have never really got to that stage, but it is something that doctors have warned me about. So yeah, it was quite uncomfortable. This is actually the one of the shortest chest infections I've had. It's actually the first time I've been poorly since COVID. I did have COVID at the beginning of this year. I had it for about 10 days. That was the time that I had to isolate from work as well. But I only actually felt poorly for about 3 of them, and it really wasn't that bad. I just felt a little bit rough. But since, I had pneumonia in 2011. I thought it was quite serious at the time. Turns out it was quite a mild version. But ever since then, I've been left with scar tissue in my I think it's bronchi, the main breathe tube. If I get a cough or a chest infection, if it sets in, I can feel it. I can feel that sort of line, and when I cough, it feels like a hot spear going down my throat. It's absolutely horrible. And after I recovered from that, 18 months later, that initial pneumonia, I struggled with flu. So when flu season came around, that was terrible. And I haven't, touch wood, had flu since before COVID. I started having the flu jab, and oh my gosh, the difference that made. So yeah, haven't had it this year, but of course I've had all my COVID jabs, so I do feel pretty good. That's another one done. How many have I got left to go? I've got 4 more to go over here for this basic colouringness. And then what I think I might do, just to break up painting grey all my life, is I might move on to the bone colour of their claws, because that will probably just help me feel good about myself. I've knocked over all the models here because my cats have been up on the desk. I'm actually checking for any more cat damage. There is no more cat damage. It probably feels like something that I should have a look at. It's just that one that's been mauled on the tail. I need to have a word with that cat. There's something sinister going on there. Okay, let's wash my brush out again. Kes says, one of the things I really like about BattleTech, if you want every model is different. Yes, yeah, I like that. You can have an entire army of just different mechs. I really like that. You could do something similar with 40k, but there's a lot of sort of kit bashing, I suppose, conversions and things. And you could like buy or like the larger things, so like the dreadnoughts and things like that. You could have like very different sorts of units if you wanted to have quite an eclectic range. But in BattleTech, one unit could be made up with totally individual types of mechs. I like to call them robots because I know it winds you up. But yeah, you know what I mean. Yeah, I think BattleTech is really good. I'm a big fan of the old classic game. It just takes a million years to play it because it's so incredibly detailed. But like you mentioned to me a little while ago, it's designed to play with just one or two mechs maybe. If you're particularly good or really into it, you can play with more. And I have played with like an entire army, and it took all day to play it. What we're going to be playing tomorrow, what we've been playing recently for benefit of any other viewer, is Alpha Strike, which is a new version that has been brought out. Is it by the original creators? I think it is, or someone else has bought it to make it faster, and it's just made the game faster and more convenient, and means you can play with lots more. And it's just a fast and fun game to play. I really enjoyed it. And it doesn't take very long to pick it up. You don't have to sit there and learn an entire book, though we went through it together, didn't we, with some precision to kind of pick up those finer details because we picked up the game so fast, so we had that time. And yeah, you lose, I suppose, a little bit of the detail, but what you lose in detail, you gain in entertainment, fun, and the fact that you can have multiple games, and that was just great. And I believe that you had a fan made but widely known and accepted sort of mod for it as well, didn't you? Someone else had created some like house rules, if you like, and that they're quite well known. And we were playing with those as well, just to make it even faster, without compromising on the quality of the game. I really enjoyed it, and I lost my very first game of BattleTech ever against you playing that game. So I suppose, yeah, silver linings and that. It was a great game. And what I like about it as well, like a lot of games that I'm playing lately, is it's really small scale. So it means that you could just have like additional terrain and additional stuff for it, and just put it in one storage box, and that's one game's worth of stuff. Because a lot of the games are playing at different scales, and it means that you should be playing with different scales of terrain to make it a bit more real, a bit more immersive, and yeah, because it's a small game, it means you can just have lots of stuff in a box. Okay, that's what I've got. That's cool. More on terrain stuff in a minute. I'm in a groove. This is the first time I've been painting for a while, and it feels nice to be painting. And I think I've got a good paint consistency going on today. I've got a good pattern kind of coming up. I'm not doing the finest job in the world, but remember that's not what I'm here to do. And I think I'm smashing through it quite quickly. I think I'd actually be getting a slightly better effect if I hadn't dry brushed them all to start with, but oh well. For next time, right? Just pick up the backs of these plates here, and then Some heavy highlighting down the bottom, just down there. And I'm back. Told you it's a little bit weird without music, isn't it? During that intermission, went to an intermission early because it is a cursed show today. My headset gave up. So now I'm all wired in. I'm really upset with this because it's been on charge for days. So there's absolutely no reason for it to have given up the ghost. So it's a wireless one. It just charged up by USB, and it should run for 4, 5, maybe 6 hours. And normally when it's running out of battery, it just kind of gives me a little beep. It did none of that, and it just suddenly cut out. So I was not able to talk to you at all. So today was late because I didn't have the program or any of the kind of camera setup, which I managed to sort out. My camera was out of shot. I wasn't able to do a technical test. I have no music apart from an intro for some reason. My light keeps flickering, my chair's really squeaky, and then my headset gave up. So this is episode 95, will be forever known as the Cursed Show. So thanks for sticking around. If you're still there watching right now, or even if you're watching back later on, like if you made it this far, cheers. You don't have to. Don't feel you need to be. Don't subscribe. Just in fact, unsubscribe. Let's see what happens if I say that. Please unsubscribe. I'm not worth it. Don't hang around. I'm really sorry. It's just nice to be back in the studio. So thanks for keeping me company this evening. Yeah, I'm making an effort now, actually kind of getting through. I've got 2 more to do after this one. I'm halfway through this guy here already. Some comments that went through just as we went, well, when I lost audio, was Kez had said one of the things, oh no, sorry, no, I read that bit, was that the game Battletech is made by Catalyst Game Labs, the current owner of the license. Yeah, that makes some sense memory-wise. I can't remember who... was it WizKids who owned it before then? And I can't remember who the original people were, because the original creators of the game have recently made BattleTech, the video game, which basically is the original classic board game, but obviously the computer is doing all the really hard calculations and all the paperwork, housekeeping, so that the game is just really quite snappy, and it looks really good. I think they kind of refined a few of the rules to make it work a bit smoother, and it's got animations, which is great, cool. So it's nice to know that those guys are back in the market with their original concept. And like Kez says, that this game has been made by Catalyst Game Labs. Cool. So there you go. Jeff says, still with you. Thanks, man. Yeah, you don't have to. And then before we went away, you also said, I always found for me that when I was younger, gaming with my brothers and my friends, that a large table with plenty of terrain, small action made the best games, more tactical. I'm glad you've brought that up because, as we all know, that I've been playing small war games lately. Let me just move my little Termagant away for a minute, and I'm going to take it back over to the workbench. Here we go. This is one of my birthday presents from Jeff, my dad. Thanks very much. If anyone wants to know, Jeff is actually my dad, but also owns and works at Purple Lion Creations. There is a link to Purple Lion Creations just down there in the description of this video for custom bespoke terrain and buildings, etc. I've been playing Water Tanker and other little tank games. Water Tanker, I think, is one of the best ones out there. And little 15mm tanks has become a little passion of mine. And on our recent trip, Easy 8 community went out to Bovington Tank Museum, and in the car park was an M24 Chaffee painted in British colours, and I've never seen a Chaffee before I went to Bovington. And I just loved it. It was apparently it's a light tank. I knew nothing of it, so I've done a lot of research into it, and I've just been talking about the Chaffee ever since. He came in really, really late war as a replacement for the M3 and the M5 Stuart light tank, but really kind of came in such small numbers and too close to the end of the war to really have much of an impact. Lots of nations received them as a part of the Lend-Lease program, and the United Kingdom. We had 302 of them, and I don't think that any of them saw service with us. So yeah, it came in with a little bit too late, really, to have much of an effect. However, still a really good tank. I really like him. Nippy as. Quite light armor, but for its role, quite heavy armor with a 76mm cannon. So, like one of the Sherman standard cannons in there, in a slightly bigger chassis. Just a really nice tank to look at. So I've got 2 of these. I haven't got both of them here with me. I made these up the other day while I was having a drink with my partner on the sofa, and I was just kind of, bimling away with a bit of model glue. Loved it. And I've also got, I think, is it the M10? I'm not entirely sure, but it's the Hellcat. So the tank destroyer, the open-topped tank destroyer. It has the same chassis as the M24 Chaffee. Chaffee and chassis, they rhyme. But it has like an open-topped high caliber 76mm. I think it's a 76mm cannon in there, and it's a beautiful tank. Again, I like the side profile of this tank. And the M10, I think it's the M10. It could be the M18 actually. Now I'm saying it, I don't really know. But the Hellcat has an open topped turret, which apparently was really quite roomy because it was lacking a roof. But when it fighting in the winter of 43, was it, when it was basically the Battle of the Bulge and the fight for the Ardennes, when that horrible winter came in, it turned it into a giant blast freezer because the engines in the back drew in air through the turret to help keep the engine cool. But of course, with an open top turret, was drawing in all the really cold air from the winter and just freezing the crew on the inside, so you couldn't touch anything because it was just solid ice. So that was a flaw, I suppose. But there, Jeff says it's the M18. There we go. So I've got the M18 Hellcat and I've got two M24 Chaffies. I'm going to paint them up in American Allied colours because I think that it would suit them very nicely. I think that the British colours are very, very dark, and I want these to look quite light and cheerful. I have got also a whole bunch of Fireflies, the Sherman Firefly, so I'm going to put those as part of my British force, and I've got a couple of Sherman 76s to go with my American force, and a couple of Sherman 75s to go with my British force. I'd like some Churchills as well. I think Churchills would be kind of cool. I'm not a big fan of the Churchill. I think it looks really ugly, but that doesn't mean you shouldn't have them. So I'm going to get some of those for my British force as well. And I've also been painting up a couple of new German tanks. I've got a couple of, I believe the way that you say it is Hornisse. I know that I haven't got the accent there, so for my German viewers, I'm really sorry about that barbaric attempt of your language. But the Hornisse Hornet is basically another variation of the Nashorn, the Rhino, which is basically a Panzer IV chassis with a huge 88mm cannon stuck in an open-topped, very lightly armoured casemate. It's not the 88 from the Tiger, it's the 88 from the Tiger II. It is an immense gun. From breech to muzzle, that gun is as long as a Sherman. It is immense, and I've got a couple of those models on the way made, but they need to be painted as well. So I've been busy while I've been poorly making some little miniatures. Thanks, Dad, for my birthday present. I love them. I've still yet to make the Hellcat. But because I like playing that game, just over here, if I lean back, I've been waiting for these for ages. I've just got a really big cardboard box. What is in this cardboard box? Let's come away from the workbench just a second to show you, because I need some space in this box. I went out and ordered a whole load of MDF laser cut terrain. So as you can see here, this is like a block of apartments. It's all 50mm. I love the smell of laser cut MDF terrain. I've got some roof tiles, which I'm not entirely sure what they're for. I think they might have actually fell into the box when they were packing up. I've got some more like stone apartments. So yeah, that's some more buildings. I've already got 3 terraced houses, and I'm going off of what Jeff was just saying a minute ago, is that actually having more stuff to fill your table, more terrain, but smaller scale, just makes for such an action-packed game. This little section here is actually, if you have a little look there, you can just see at the bottom here, it's just an extra floor, an extra story for some houses that I've already got, so I can add a level to my terraced houses, so that I can have some variation. I've got another row of terraced houses, so that other addition just kind of goes somewhere between the roof or the first floor. I've got a corner grocery so that I can make streets out of them, and I've got what else have I got here? I've got a corner bakery so I can actually have like a crossroads or a junction, and finally I've got a painted shops. So they're all kind of pre-painted, so these are from foreground. Foreground makes some excellent terrain. They're really, really high quality laser cut terrain, and I really put them up there. One of the highest rated laser cut things. I would highly recommend Colin Farrant at Charlie Foxtrot models, but Colin doesn't make things in 15mm. Colin also probably makes some of the highest quality models for laser cut terrain around that you can find, and these guys make some excellent stuff for 15mm as well. And they do quite a lot of other scales. So if you're ever in the market looking for something like that to fill your table up to get those action-packed small games in, look no further. Colin Foxtrot, Colin Farrant at Charlie Foxtrot models make some really good larger scale stuff, and these guys foreground make a variety of scales for some other stuff as well. Beautiful models. I want to keep on buying from them. However, on their Facebook page, it looked like that their business was closing down for whatever reason. Wasn't announced. As none of my business to know, I suppose. And it was a real shame because the quality of their stuff is just really, really good, and they make such a wonderful range. And trying to find something in the scale that matches this was really, really difficult. Well, I never found anything. However, they still appear to be trading, and it looks like that they may have changed their trading name. So perhaps something sort of business has gone, bureaucracy or red tape or something has occurred there under time again. So if you type in foreground, you do get taken straight back to their new trading thing. There is quite a waiting queue at the moment. I had to wait some months for these to come through. I was very patient. There was lots of communication on their website and through emails I was getting quite recently, and then they just came. I thought I was like 500 and something in the queue, and I'd been like that for a while, and they came just the other day. So the guys at Foreground, if you ever get around to watching this terrible show, thank you very much. When the next week's show come in, and it's going to be a better quality show, I hopefully I will put another shout out for you, because it's worth knowing Foreground. It's worth knowing Colin Farrant of Charlie Foxtrot. So I'm going to have an absolutely filled table of goodies. So that's another thing that I've had to go with all my little tanks. I'm just going to plot these back in this box here. I don't know how. One thing that these guys at Foreground are really good at is packing boxes. I could not get this stuff back in the box for love nor money without it kind of bulging. It wasn't like that when it came. But I'm just going to pop that down there and pretend I packed that really well, because here we go. I'm going to crack back on. I just kind of wanted to share with you some of the cool stuff that I've got recently from little birthday present model tanks. Thank you very much. I really do love these. These are a great thing to have. I think they're wonderful and delightfully charming. But I've also kind of bought all these sort of model houses lately, and I feel like a kid with so much stuff. It's great. Let's get back to the workbench, and I'm going to carry on painting the stuff that I want to paint. Here we go. Cool. Right, so back to the old Termagant. I would love to know how you're getting on with any of your painting. So if you are kind of making stuff, painting stuff this evening, how are you getting on? If you are watching this for some strange reason retrospectively later on and you're still with me, let me know in the description. Oh, sorry, in the description. I always get those two mixed up. In the comment section, I do read everything that goes down in the comments. Let me know what it is that you're painting. I'm genuinely interested. But it is a Tuesday, so there's only 2 people in the live chat today. Thanks for coming along, guys. You didn't have to. I just wanted to make a presence back on the internet, because it's important. Got to keep the flow going. And the world's going to hell in a handbasket. I think I say that almost every couple of weeks, right? So take some time out of your week to do something fun, do something nice. Maybe nothing's working because it's a Tuesday and the live stream gods are like, what are you doing? You don't do it on a Tuesday. Sorry, live stream gods. But I'm actually quite glad to have picked up the paintbrushes again this week, because, like I said a minute ago, I'm actually hoofing through this tonight. And this is just one of those kind of boring and repetitive jobs. It really sucks the soul out of me. And the show doesn't just motivate you guys, it motivates me as well. Having, this, knowing that I've got to make a presence, knowing that that I need to do a show, keeps me motivated as well. So it's not I'm doing it for you, I'm doing it for me. I'm actually being quite selfish. Kez says, going well, getting a secondary colour put on for my Steinemex. And Jeff says, I'm scribing stone into this tower, the last few inches to do. I saw that Martello tower the other day. And all the brickwork scratching you're doing, it looks like you've got a month of it to do, so that if you've only got a little bit left, well done you. Sorry that I don't have any music today, sort of fill the awkward silences. Not that the music was, you know, chart-topping blockbuster music. It just comes out of the YouTube free audio library. But I quite liked it. I was actually thinking a little while ago of changing the soundtrack. I was like, no, this has become a part of my brand. This is what I am. This is who I am. So I've left it. So, Kez, what colour is Steinemex? For those people that don't know what colours Steinemex are, if I remember right, are they generally blue? Is that right? I'm trying to remember. I did a lot of research. I say a lot of research. I could barely remember anything. So I went and I basically had a look on YouTube for videos about the lore into BattleTech, because BattleTech has been going for as long as, if not longer than Warhammer 40,000 anyway. And it's built up, as you might expect, quite a background, quite a lore, quite a fan base to go along with it as well. It is the other side of futuristic wargaming, really. And it's got a really, really rich lore, and I really like that. This bit of carapace here has got a really, really dark bit in the middle there, and it looks really quite crappy. Without the music playing in the background, I can hear my cat outside the door, and you might be able to hear that too. I can honestly promise you, he is not in distress, he's just needy. He is lovely though. He follows me around everywhere. And he just wants to be let in here. And I'm not going to let him, because one of them, and I'm sure it's her, is eating my models, and that is not okay. So yeah, this one here, just on the top of this plate here, on the back of his gun, it's a really, really dark spot. And I don't know if I like that. I might come in with a little bit of my darker grey just to kind of soften that down a bit. You know what? I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it now while I'm thinking of it. Otherwise, I'll forget it. I'll lose this guy. I've got the time. Come in with a bit of Eshin grey. Here we go. Kez says, I am painting them the Steiner Royal Guard. I think it was main colour blue, secondary yellow and gold. I like the look of your yellow best, so I went with that. Oh yeah, look of yellow best, not my yellow. I thought you said your yellow. I was gonna say like it's completely irrelevant. These are on creatures. I like the look of yellow best, so went with that. Okay, cool. So for some reason in my head I've got it like they're sort of the Union Jack colours or the American flag colours. It's got red, white, blue, isn't it? Just suppose it would be very patriotic, and Steiner are pretty patriotic, aren't they? Again, just giving us a bit of a waz on the old Easy 8 Wazomatic. Probably sounds really gritty and horrendous now that there's no music playing. Normally music is blaring in my headset. Sounds awful. It still shakes the diffuser out of my lights. Wazomatic. Excuse me, there's the cough. This is a much darker grey, so I'm just going to get a little bit. I'm just going to pop that on the other side over here, just so I can add a little bit of water to it. It's just one touch, and I'll have a little bit of it, I suppose, just on the side if I find another model that that needs a bit of a darker grey. Probably gone in too heavy with the water there, but whatever. I'm literally just going to add just a little bit of feathering to it, and just see if I can just dull down the black that's in there. And then I'll add a little bit of the other grey. There, that's better. Some sort of horrendous attempt at wet blending, mostly with water and crappy brush strokes. Kez says red, white, and blue are what I'm painting my Davian mechs. Ah, okay, cool. Yeah, you got these two sort of very high ranking. I suppose ranking is that the right word? Most powerful forces, Davian and Steiner, allied by marriage that got broken down because one assassinated the other. You're not so good to do to your wife or husband, whichever way around it was. If I remember the law right. I spent like an entire afternoon just like going through YouTube trying to find videos. I found one that just kind of described them all in such an entertaining way. And if anyone's actually interested, I might actually post a link to that video here. It's definitely worth watching. It was quite funny. He explains it in a way that made me chuckle anyway. My favourite are the Free Rasselhague Republic, which are an offshoot of the Draconis Combine. Samurai come Vikings, actually, I think, if you want to really boil it down in a sentence. But none of that really kind of comes through in the mechs or anything. It's just the colours. I actually don't really like the colour scheme that much. It's just the lore that I like on them. They just seem free and, live life. Just like the story behind it. And they got completely trounced by the clan invasion. So yeah, not all shiny. Right, I think pretty much done with this one here. Running a risk of overdoing it on him, and I've got 2 more to go. So let's pop this bad boy in here. He wants to actually go in. Go in it. There we go. Add just a bit of water to that paint. These grades can be quite thick actually. It means they give you really good coverage in terms of pigment, in terms of opacity. You do have to water them down a little bit. That's something that I'm always saying. So I should be using that wet palette, but I don't have enough space on the desk because even though I've bought a new desk for lots of space, I've just filled it with rubbish. Jess says, done. Thank God for that. Wow, that was quick. You only had a couple of inches left to go. You must have been speed doing it. Speed doing it. Speed scratching didn't sound right. Speed sculpting. Well done. Someone's completed something on the show. Oh my God. Would love to see some photos if we're allowed to see any. So pop them up on the Facebook page if you can, because remember Facebook's been doing that weird thing where you're not allowed to have a mentions tab anymore. So what you can do every week, I put up a listing, a schedule for the show that's going to be running, and you can just add photos as comments to that, and that's the easiest way to do it. So yeah, pop it on there if you want to, or if you're a part of Discord, you can drop it over on Discord as well. There's loads of little channels on Discord for you to go and have a little look at, interact with, post up photos, etc., etc. And I will be on Discord at the end of the day show just for a little bit, just to apologise to those people that are on live for running such a rubbish show. Over the last few weeks, Discord's actually been really, really busy because while I've been poorly, I've just been playing video games with friends, and we've been using that. So loads of people have been dipping out to come and say hello. So to all of you who've been over on Discord, thanks very much for coming along and making sure that I've been well. I I worked on the day of my birthday, and then a couple of days later was the end of my season because I work seasonally. I still work through the winter, but it was the last day that I was going to be working with my team, who I've been working with all year really closely. And I started to feel really poorly on that last day, to the point where I probably should have stayed at home. But there was no way that I was going to work all the way through the year and then be off on my last day working with them. So I worked on that last day, and then, oh my god, it just came in so quick, so heavy. I had several days off, and I was just poorly on all of them. And then I was calling in, and I was waking up at like 12 o'clock in the afternoon. Being poorly is rubbish, isn't it? And when you're poorly, you think, oh, I could just crack on with all the things at home that I want to do. You will not. The gods are laughing at you. Uh, Jeff says, nah, I've been doing it for most of the day. Yeah, man. So there's a lot of sculpty, scratchy stuff. So what is it that you're scratching into? Is it Das air dry clay, or is it another substance that you've been using? Because you like a lot of different sort of sculpting things like polymer clays and things like that. Was it air dry Das clay that you've been scratching into? Because I know that you painted it a grey colour, scratch into it to reveal like an undercolour, and then you stain it to kind of give it like a mortar effect, which is very clever. Went a bit heavy on that last plane there. No need to rush, Dan. No need to rush. Okay, gonna wash the brush out. Das with a splash of plaster, a wash of plaster. Okay, so I've seen you roll out like a sheet of Das air dry clay, cut it to the shape that you want roughly, pop it on, trim it down so it fits, and then let that dry, and then like a wash of thin plaster. Is that plaster of Paris? Because I've got all these houses that that if I ever feel the need to make them look even more realistic is by adding a stone wash to them. It'd be interesting to know what it is that you would suggest, or what it is that you do, that I could steal any ideas. Because we were talking as a community a few weeks ago about MDF laser cut houses, terrain, and things. And Stafford, who isn't on air today, was saying that he applied a plaster effect to all of his MDF things, and I've seen them, and even though it was a really rough and quick thing, it looks so good. And for such a simple thing to add to an MDF building, it just changed them completely. Really, really good effect. Really, really well done. He was like adding different textures and things to the plaster. And if you remember back, he was talking about he added salt just to see what it would do. It was not the thing to do. It was a silly thing, but yeah, at least we know. Sometimes you've got to do these things just in the name of science. Adding salt for science. Oh, we definitely need that on a piece of merchandise. Salty stuff. It's great that he's not here, so that I can call him all these names. If you're watching this back later on, staff, I'm so sorry. Allyship out the window. Just make sure that I've actually come into frame, because I realised I probably wasn't in frame there. I apologise. Still don't really know what to do with those forward-facing plates. Okay, let's do this guy's head crest thingy. Starting from the back on this one, don't know why, just felt natural. Add just a little bit of water here. Then I've got one more to do. And the time is now 25 to, so we're doing all right with time. Do you know what? I thought I was going to lose all momentum, all sort of motivation for it, call it off because it's been a bit of a weird show. But it has been nice to have a little bit of company, get some painting done. So at least for next week, which I promise will be better, it's yeah, a little bit of extra work done, isn't there? But it is really weird doing a show without music. I'm trying to remember back in the early days, like in the first episodes, we didn't have any music then, did we? We deliberately started off nice and slow. We had Kyle with us back then. If you'll remember Kyle. Hi Kyle. We were talking away and we deliberately made it less because we didn't want to start out with all the gear and no idea. So we just took it really easy. And we've been building up successfully ever since. And yeah, I've been destroying it. That's looking pretty cool. Or as Kyle would say, that's looking sick. Blech. There. The penultimate Tyranid. One more to go. Here he is. He, she, they, it. Gribbly. Okay, again, just going to wash this brush out. Jeff says, I will wash it over tomorrow with a light watercolour paint and glue mix and rub it back off, leaving just a bit in the scratch marks. That's kind of cool. How long did it take you to work that out as a sort of a method, a recipe? Sort of one of those things that you just kind of thought of and worked straight away, or was it like in the making over months and weeks? Everyone's got their own way of doing things, haven't they? It's interesting to know how people kind of get to that stage. Might need a bit more in here in just a minute because I'm running out. Might need to go to that now, so here we go. It's cool if it works. Yeah, that's the same with anything in this though, isn't it? This idea I've got with all my greys, really cool if it works. It's taken me how long to work it out? How long have I been running the show? This is going into the third year. I've been painting Tyranids since virtually the beginning. Right, fresh bit of paint in the palette, add a bit of water, smooth it right down. There we go. I always leave a little bit of paint that I've just put in there untouched by the water, so if I need to add a bit of viscosity, add a bit of paint back into it, and then I've got it straight down, I don't have to go back to the pot. It's interesting that I've just noticed that. I've never thought about that. It's always been like a psychological thing. Always been like a subconscious thing. Psychologically painting. Losing the plot today. Right, here we go. Let's get back to it. Got a good sort of blend of water and paint here. It's going on quite easy to transfer from the brush onto the model. Nice and smooth, nice and easy. That's what you want. There we go. I'm using the actual brush strokes to create rough feathery lines, and it's those lines that I'm not really focusing very hard on creating. I'm just kind of letting them happen quite roughly and naturally because it's such a small part of the model, such a small model just in general really, that it kind of creates the illusion of these streaks by itself. On the bigger models I actually kind of draw them in, like these lines just kind of create creases in the carapace, and it works really well. But here I'm just kind of letting the feathering technique do it itself. Yes, I have a like a dislocating thumb. It's just a double jointed thumb, and it means I can really latch onto things. Can't do it with this hand, but with this one I can, so I can hold things really quite tight. Nice little painting aid. My sister has a double jointed this thumb on this side, so she can bend the whole top of her thumb back and touch the back of her hand with it. Yeah, but she's abnormal. I'm the perfect one. It's okay, Dad. I've told her. She knows. I told her by phone, of course, and made sure that there's some serious distance in there. I'm perfect and smart. Okay, let's do these legs. Leggy plates. And while this part of the painting is quite rough, when I come in with the highlight grey, I'll actually be quite a bit more careful with it, because those lines will kind of show up quite a bit more. I'm hoping they will anyway, and hoping that it will make it all look kind of cool. Nice. I'm just going to pick up the back edges of these, the raised edges of these plates here. I don't know if you can see on the camera there, but where I originally painted them, not done a very good job of picking out the edges, and they're all yellow. So while I've got this colour here, it does seem to be the right colour to use, I think. I'll just see if I can get a bit more paint on the tip of the brush there. I can just come in and just neaten that up. Quite noticeable on this one. Like I say, I rushed these back in the day, and even in recent years trying to do them, didn't do a very good job of it. Oh, it's a horde army, I'll just get through it quickly, no one will notice. Well, I did. My elbow just slipped on the table, that could have gone badly. Okay. But the light's shining off it a little bit, it's quite difficult actually to see on this particular one where I'm going. Why on this one and not on the others? Right, just the gun to do. The flesh borer has a small hive of flesh borer beetle larvae that live inside here, and the creature creates a bioelectrical spasm. It goes through and basically barfs out a little beetle, and that beetle lives out its life cycle on its way to and in contact with the target. And it has one of the most voracious appetites probably ever known, and it will eat its way through whatever it's in contact with before it expires. So it will hit you in your, chest armor or your helmet or whatever, and it will just eat its way through within seconds, and then it will just expire and die. But it would have eaten its way through you. One of my favourite ammunition types within the Tyranid army. I'm a big fan of the Barb Strangler. I like the idea of, again, another bioelectrical spasm pulse fires out a seed for a giant, basically alien bramble bush, and it hits you. It's not got very good armor piercing, but if it does penetrate you or get into your skin or even into the floor, I suppose, but kind of the idea is to get into a person, it immediately grows a giant alien bramble bush which takes you and your comrades in this giant mess of alien thorns within like seconds. Like rapid germination. Almost done. Okay, I think we're there. Do you know what? I'm calling it. Yay, I finished, not some models, but I have finished the that run of colour. That little exercise has been done now, and I still got about 12 minutes before the end of the show. I know we started a little bit later because I was having all those technical problems, and I would normally run the show over, but I'm not going to aim to do that today just because the show's a bit substandard. If it happens to happen, then I will roll with it. But what I want to do now is I just want to have a little go on this Homogorn, which I do consider done, and I'm just going to paint the bone colours onto his claws, just because I want to see what he looks like. I know what he's going to look like, but it'd be nice to see him with a little bit of sort of life come into that colour scheme. You can see on here that I've actually got the red weed thing that I've spoke about in many other shows. I'm not going to go into it today, but I really like the fact that it's a colour that really stands out when you can go see it, but it's a really mundane thing. It doesn't draw your eye too much. It's just a nice bit of colour, and it just kind of breaks it all up a little bit. It looks weird. It looks out of place. It looks a little bit gross. And it's just there being a cool thing. I like it. I'm just going to shake up this colour. This is Screaming Skull. This is a fantastic colour, off-white. It has so much more potency as a pigment than the colour range that I use with Vallejo. Just going to give him a really good shake there, and of course going over to the Easy 8 Wazomatic for wazzing. Jeff says it was just an idea I had doing that massive church a few years back. Yes, of course. So Jeff made it a huge, I think it was a 28mm, probably going into 32mm, a very large model church. It dominated the dining table, and yeah, you were doing all the scratch work, brickwork on there, and colouring in all the mortar. Fantastic effort that was. I think there are photos actually on your Purple Lion Creations Facebook page, so if you are interested in going and having a look, I do recommend it. It was a cracking build. There is pigment in there. I should not have done that. Okay, at least I know I shouldn't use that part of the palette. Let me just wash my finger off. What a curse today has been. I thought, that looks a bit powdery in there. What's in there? Well, let's be honest, I knew what it was. I just shouldn't have touched it, right? I'll find a different place. Over here. Okay, brilliant. So let's just scoop some of this paint out here, and I'm just going to plop it on the palette just there. I'm not going to be using an awful lot. It does cover quite well. Can't believe I've got pigment all over my finger. What a ham today has been. A slight drop of water to this paint. Doesn't need much, and if you break it down too much, even though it will transfer onto the model quite well, because it's a really light colour, especially going onto a grey, it will go transparent quite quickly and it won't cover as well as I want it to. So again, just washing my brush out before I start painting. Can't believe I did that. Right, here we go. Just loading the brush up with Screaming Skull bone colour. Let's go straight on for the claws. Here we go. You can see that grey is poking through a little bit, but that's fine. That will dry quite quickly. It's going on quite thin. There's definitely a too thin coats job. We are coming up to the last few minutes of the show as well, so yeah, if you are here still with us at this point, watching now live or back later on, thanks for coming along. I appreciate the company. I don't think it's going to be a hard job covering over everything that I've done on all of these. I've just been playing around with it. It's been drying as I've been painting, and it's just been kind of wiping the brush back over the other bits, and over the bits that I've just painted without even letting it dry, and it's covered quite well. Means I can come back and sort that out, and that should stand out quite nicely. Let's go to this guy over here, his claw. Nice. So the theme is, if it's armor plates, any description, typically it'll be grey. If it's claws or hooves or anything like that, then it will be a bone colour. Keratin and chitin, two different things. Just because when we were painting the larger beasties, we discovered that having the claws separate from the colour scheme of the armour just looks so much better. And it just, with these claws, especially on these little monsters like this, with them being highlighted in this colour, it's going to draw your eye to them. It is their weapon, isn't it? And you want to kind of be like brought to it and go like, oh, there it is, look at that, I think they look really cool. Got little claws on the back of their elbows over here, some of them. Just a bit of water in the brush there because my bristles are a bit unruly. Soften that paint up a bit. There we go. That's better. Got these little claws here. Trying to not be too thick and coarse with the paint, just so that it goes on nice and smooth. They've already got a couple of paint schemes on them, and I don't want to, you know, just cake them in so much paint. Make sure I take that right up to the flesh colour. There we go. No grey showing through there. I'm going to do all claws, all hooves. Yes, there's a bit of extra work, but I think it's going to make them look that much better. And of course I'll do the termagants in exactly the same way. So they've got these little additional limbs underneath them, these little claws, which I think in the law it says that they use them for, well, just general manipulation, but also for like additional locomotion. Especially these guys, they're supposed to be the fastest things around. They weren't in the rules though. In the last edition for the Tyranids, I think that has been amended. These are now the faster things. Gene Stealers were faster quite a bit. It didn't make an awful lot of sense. Because the thing that these guys have got as an advantage is how fast they get to the front lines. They're not strong. I mean, they are pretty strong, but it's not about having might. It's about having weight of numbers. They get there really, really fast, bog you down, probably do quite a bit of damage, especially to your smaller units, and they'll ruin their day. But they'll tie you up. You'll probably win. But then your bigger stuff gets in, your more elite things, like your Gene Stealers. Your Gene Stealers are good, very elite units. They're taking on specialist things. Essentially your shock troopers, your paratroopers if you like. They're very good at infiltrating. And they do move with lightning speed. But I didn't like the idea that they were essentially taking the place of these things. Frontline cavalry judging, a really light cavalry judge, get in there, mess everything up, and buy some time for the bigger stuff. I think that's looking pretty good. Yeah, claws already. Looks pretty good, doesn't he? Do you darken the ends where it meets the yellow? Yes, I do. So like I go like a really light color, so I keep it this color, maybe even highlight with a bright white right at the ends, and then as it goes further back, I use like a seraphim color, so like seraphim, the sepia color, and I just make that quite thin wash over here, and I'll drag it back and just make it heavier and make it pool at the bottom, and I might even add in some cases a little bit of Agrax Earthshade, which is quite a very dark brown, quite a dark brown. So blending those two colors is quite important, I think. But on the model that this scale, a seraphim sepia will do fine, and just make it dense at the base, and then just highlight it back out of this color if it gets a little bit unruly, and then just really bright at the front, and that just kind of lends makes it look like it's really pointy or sharp. So yes, that is what I will do. And I can show you on the Trigon model, but you've already seen it, where it just adds some depth to the color as well. And then finally, going in on the hooves. I call them hooves. They're actually claws. They actually have a rule, Fleet of Claw, which was adapted from Fleet of Foot, which is in the Eldar rules. Basically meant that they were really fast. So the Eldar have a rule called Fleet of Foot, the Tyranids have Fleet of Claw, and horses for the cavalry, because there are some units that have horses or beasts that run really fast. They have a Fleet of Hoof. Just trying to make sure that I don't ruin anything around the base, because I do like that base on this particular miniature. Trying to get in around his foot claw. There's that one there. I'm just going to wash my brush out just so that it's not all clagged up for that last little foot. And then we'll call it a day. And we have just gone past 9 o'clock, so we have been running for like normally for a normal show length, which is great considering the troubles we've had today. I say the troubles that I've caused, troubles that I've dealt with. It's been the show's got to go on. It's show business, folks. It's how it goes. It's been nice to have a bit of quiet, meditative space today as well. I will be very embarrassed and ashamed of this episode, the cursed episode 95. Yeah, I've got some wild bristles on this brush here. Come on, bit of water into that. Bit more. There we go. Probably a bit too much. There we go. That's a better consistency. Take your time, Danny. No rush. Right, so just get that in. Around the tippy toes. What I did with these red vine features is I made them, sculpted them out of Procreate, which is a very, very hard type of that. And I let them, so I made sausages out of them basically, curled them up into weird shapes and let them dry. And then I came back to them and then just chose which ones sat on a base around a particular miniature's pose well, and then lined them all up to the ones that I wanted them to sit on, and then painted them before I glued them on. So I didn't have the trouble that I'm trying to be careful with now. It's looking alright there. It's looking good. I think that looks really nice. There we go. Just add a bit more opacity to the claws there. The paint on them is pretty much dried already. I'm just going in now with another thin watery layer. Say watery, not actually that watery, but I have loosened it a little bit with some water. Excellent. Really happy with how that looks. I don't know why I didn't. Well, I do know why I didn't do it in the past. Like I say, I took these this color scheme from like a picture, just like a meme or something, like a little cuteness picture from the internet. I just typed in color scheme Tyranids, and these came up as like cute pictures, and they were grey and yellow. And I really like them, and it really works. But they didn't have white claws; they just had grey claws to go along with their armor. So that just needed to be adapted, and it's taken me this long to realise that. But here they are, looking really cool. The problem I had with my Broodlord is that the claws were sat on a piece of terrain that was also grey, because that terrain is a piece of damaged Tyranid flora, and it was hard to distinguish between the terrain that he was stood on and his own foot. and for trying to make him stand out a little bit, it was very difficult. This will, of course, eliminate that problem. I will go back in, repaint his claws, and he will stand out from the piece of terrain that he is standing on. He will look glorious and resplendent in his new clawy goodness. Well, naughty, look at that, very nice. Okay, cool, what a great day it's been, he says. It's been a bit rubbish, hasn't it? I'm really, really sorry. Right, let's make sure that I'm wrapping up everything here today. As I clean out my brush, I'm just going to get some cleaner on there. Where's my brush cleaner? I've been using quite claggy paint today, so I'm going to put a good dollop of that stuff down. And just make sure that those bristles and that ferrule is cleaned. And you'll see that colour changing in a minute. It's coming, there it is. Sounds like I'm scrubbing with an expensive brush, but I'm actually kind of going around in circles, making sure that my bristles aren't ever being forced in this direction. So I'm kind of going around in a circle. So, like that. As I'm doing it, I'm just kind of agitating the bottom of the bristles just by kind of scraping the ferrule against the mat there. But it's not me scrubbing aggressively with bristles, because that will ruin my brush. I go around, and when I kind of get to this point here, I just kind of go down, which is why I end up making a wider mess on the desk. And then just wash it out with a bit of water. I'll pick that up, there we go. Actually wasn't that bad. I thought it was going to be. Okay, cool. Brilliant. Let's come away from here. Excuse me. Jeff says, nice, works. Yeah, he does, you're right. I like it, thank you very much. Hopefully, does it look like he's wearing like white shoes now, though, but hopefully that'll all kind of blend down into bony looking colours later on. And then you should like see this like skittering horde. So when I've kind of got them all, there'll be a mass of grey with yellow. And depending on what direction you're looking from, it'll be mostly grey, I suppose, because you'll be kind of looking down on top of them. But there'll be like an explosion of kind of like bone coming from them, and of course that's an explosion of bony claws coming towards you as the opponent. So yeah, that's kind of what I'm hoping will look like. As for the termagants, they're carrying guns. It'll be less. It'll be when you're kind of looking at them a bit more sort of detailed, a bit more focused. You'll see the sort of claws. And there'll be more underneath them because their kind of guns are slung underneath them rather than their claws kind of being out and a bit more obvious, which is appropriate. I quite like that. Anyway, one of the things that I wanted to talk about before I disappear today, and because the show has been a little bit rubbish, frankly, I will make sure that I repeat everything that I've spoken about today. I will go back to it next week, so that I'll basically just kind of repeat everything that I've said whilst cracking all these models. So don't worry if there's only been a couple of you. If no one watches this show later on, I'll go back over it. I don't really know why I'm saying that, because if they're not going to watch it, it doesn't really matter. But yeah, one of the things that I really wanted to talk about before Christmas was Salute 2023. It was something that we were speaking about just before I had a few weeks away. There's quite a lot of community interest about going to Salute. We've done a few little outings where the community have got together and we've gone to Bovington Tank Museum, and we've been talking about just kind of trying to continue that and make more of an effort to go out as a group. And it'll be great to start kind of collecting in the community from the wider parts of the country. Obviously, some people that will always be difficult, and for some people who watch abroad, that's almost impossible. I get that's okay, but if you do make it over to the UK, say you're one of my German viewers or one of my Spanish viewers, or even from the US, if you're in the country at the time, let's organise it, let's get together. But we want to go to the Salute War Game show, and it's one of the biggest ones in the country. There's a lot to go and see. It used to be over 2 days. My understanding is now that it is actually over one, and that's probably a post-COVID thing. I'm not entirely sure. I should imagine it is. It used to be, from what I know, at least once once or twice. It used to be in Birmingham. I was hoping it was going to be in Birmingham. It's a bit easier for me to get to. A very selfish thought, I know. But it's actually going to be in London. As far as I'm aware, there is a location set for that, and there is a specific date for it at the moment. And some people in the Easy 8 community have been and bought tickets already. I will be getting them as soon as I can. I'm just not doing it right this moment, but I am going to be looking at it before December. What I'm going to try and do is just every single week on Easy 8, I'm just going to be talking about Salute. I'm going to be making sure that everyone's aware what's going on, and as the date gets closer and closer, I will make an effort to concert everyone, to orchestrate everybody, so that we've done exactly what we've done in the past. When we go up in a road trip, if there's more of us, we'll go up in a convoy, or we'll all meet in one location. And then perhaps, like, if it's over one day, it's still nice in London that we'll go and get some accommodation or something, so that we can chill out and actually enjoy a bit of food and have a few drinks and stuff together, and just generally chat, catch up, and talk silliness, etc. Success and victories from Easy 8 shows, perhaps about the cursed show of 95, episode 95. Anything that you want to. So yes, that's something that I'm looking at doing, because it's been great fun meeting up with you guys in the past, and I look forward to kind of creating more opportunities in the future. Salute being the main one. It'll be great. And if that's a really good vibe, if it works really well, what I'd like to do is in future opportunities, other war games shows, Salute, smaller, bigger, whatever it might be, is to actually, and I've said this before, but to actually have a stand, a stall, just a small one off to the side, put some Easy 8 graphics up there, and actually display the stuff that I've painted on the show on there, and also to have that space for you guys as well. If you enjoy coming away with the Easy 8 community and you've painted a model, be it a mech, be it a tank, be it a dragon, a castle, whatever it is that you've painted, to have a little bit of space so that we can, and we'll optimize the space so we can have different layers and stuff, so we can display excuse me, what it is that we guys that we do. We're a community, we're painting stuff together, and it'd be nice to kind of show off the results, or even works in progress. I think that would be a beautiful thing to do. So some ideas to mull on, and again, like I say, I'll repeat all of this next week, and I'll probably continue badgering on that or with every show up until Salute. Anyway, that has been everything from me. If you do like what we do here, it is generally way better than this show. This has been a triumphant mess, and I'm surprised we got this far. If you do like what we do, we're not just here on YouTube, we're on Facebook as well. We're on Instagram, which I haven't been present for a while, but I am on Instagram as well, and I'm also on Discord. So if you want to come and chat with me after the show, I'll be on for a few minutes after today's show to cry into the arms of the community that have been watching. So yeah, do consider liking, follow it, and sharing us, and subscribing, because every little thing that you do to help share the name of Easy 8 really goes a long way to kind of propagating the story, getting it out there, and it makes me feel good. So yeah, feed my ego. That'd be great. Cheers. Yeah. So tell a friend. Take Easy 8 to work or whatever, and get me out there. Get you out there. Get the show out there. That would be great. So please do that. And like I say, it's better generally. I think, at least I think it is better than what it has been tonight. My lights don't always flicker. My music is normally present. My microphone often works all the way through. So yeah, and it will hopefully not be on Tuesdays. Anyway, until next time, I've been Danny. You've been fantastic. I've been rubbish. Keep on painting. Stay safe. Be kind. See you next week. Take care now. See you soon. Bye bye. Just don't know why I've got that music and nothing else. It's just weird.